Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about some scale patterns and exercises that you can do to feel more comfortable on the saxophone to develop greater technique. And they're just great ones to know. It's just gonna be a fun ride, so come along with me and let's get started. Some scales I think everyone should know is major, minor, Dorian, Mixolydian, the altered scale, your pentatonic scales, blues scales, the chromatic scale. Those are really where I would start. You have some other ones that you can play around with, like Lydian, Lydian dominant. I also love using the bebop scales. Those ones are great to use over any tune. If you don't know how to play bebop scale, it's super simple. You just play a dominant scale and then add in the natural 7. So that'll work great over your dominant chords. You can also do them over major too. You'll just put in that chromatic passing tone between the 6th and the 5th scale degree. So with the bebop scales, you just always want to make sure you're starting them on a downbeat, and then it'll line up pretty nice for you. But those are really where I would start and where I think you'll start getting the most usage out of. So for this low note exercise, I'm going to start on my middle G, and I'm going to go down in minor thirds chromatically. So I'll put the sheet music here so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, and then I'll also play it to give you an example. So now I'm going to increase that minor third interval to a major third interval and do the same thing again, going down chromatically. Now we're going to go all the way down to fourths. And then we're gonna keep increasing that interval. So now we do like tritones and then fifths. And as we increase that interval, it might get a little bit more challenging, especially if you're still getting comfortable on these low notes. But it's a great place to start, and I'd highly recommend doing that one. Okay, now if you've only ever played your scales like this, we can do more with the range. So obviously there's 2 octaves, which you've probably heard about. And then on saxophone, we have something called full range, which I'll show you. It's basically just taking the scale all the way up to high F or F sharp, and then all the way down to low B flat, and then back to the tonic or the note you started on. So this is how it would sound in the case of C major. So in this case, because C major doesn't have a low B flat, I'm only going to go down to low B, and I'll take it up to the high F. So that's what full range looks like. I'll show you one more example so you can see a note that starts a little higher on the horn. So for example, A flat major. And then in this case, I will take it down to low B flat because that is in our scale. And of course, you can try to do 3 octaves by taking it into the altissimo range. It's quite difficult, I found. That's something I'm still working on. But if you feel like you really want to work on your altissimo and this is feeling pretty comfortable, that's the next step that I would try and shoot for. So another way to work on your scales is to take the 7th chords through them. So I'll show you an example of the sheet music here, and I'll demonstrate it for you like always. But basically I'm just playing the arpeggiation of each 7th chord starting on every single scale tone. So here's what it would be in C major. You do the same thing descending, and that one can be really good just to make sure you really know these scales well. It might feel easy on C major, but something like F sharp might feel a little bit more difficult, and especially if you're learning your modes, Dorian, Mixolydian, any of those, this will also really help you with those. So we can also practice our major scale in thirds, and the thirds will change going between minor and major depending on like where you're at in the scale, just because we're following the scale. We're not doing any like specific interval. That would be more of a chromatic thing. So here's what it would be like on my F major. We're doing thirds. Same exercise and move it up to fourths. And if you want an additional challenge, you can also do this full range. So here's what it would sound like. You can take this to fifths, sixths, sevenths, ninths. Like the intervals are just so expansive. You can do any of those and it will be great. Another pattern I really like to show beginners who are just getting into the major scales is what I call up 3 down 1. So da 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 da. And again, you can do any of these in the modes and any scales that you're working on. Now this next one is a sequence I learned from one of my teachers that is just the best thing that you can really do to start mastering your arpeggios, especially when you're starting to work on jazz standards and you're trying to understand the chords and chord qualities better. So the first part of it is to learn your major 7 arpeggios through the circle of fourths. We're using the circle of fourths because that is the pattern that our 2-5-1s use. So the first part of this exercise is to do major 7 arpeggios around the circle of fourths. And of course you would continue that all the way until you get back to C. Once that feels comfortable, try doing the dominant 7 chord. So same thing, we're just flatting the 7th. Great, now once that's going well, try doing the minor 7th arpeggios. Okay, so now we have all of the qualities that we really need to start learning our 2-5-1 patterns. So if we have a 2-5-1 in C major, we're going to start with the D minor 7, which we know how to play because we've done it around the full circle of fourths in all 12 keys. Then G7 will be our dominant chord. And C major will be our major 7. And whenever you see 2-5-1s when you're playing, you'll be able to play any of them because you've practiced them in all 12 keys. Of course, you can extend this to your minor 7 flat 5 chords, altered chords. You can do it with any of the other qualities, but for beginners, just start with those 3, major, minor, and dominant. So that is kind of the basics to get started with. I say basics, but really these are super foundational and they may take you a very long time to master. So this is not something you're going to learn overnight. It takes a lot of hours of practice. Okay, now I'll show you just a few very simple 2-5-1 patterns that you can use that I like to use a lot, and you'll probably start seeing in my playing. The first one is like one of the first ones I ever learned. It's super simple. You arpeggiate up the minor 7th chord and then come down with the scale, connecting the 7 to 3. Super easy. And of course you can invert that and change up the directions. Here's another one kind of similar to that. We're going to start by arpeggiating the 2 again. Of course, we can also just start on the minor 3rd and walk down the scale. I also like this one quite a lot. So those are just a few really simple ones. If you want a PDF with these written out on it, click the link below and I'll send that to you. I really like doing pentatonic patterns. Those are super useful for improvising. So I'll show you a couple that you can try out. This is one you can try. I'm gonna do it in our D minor pentatonic. So I'm going to start on the flat 7 and go down to the 4, the 3, back up to the 5. Here's another one you can try. Here's a third option. And finally, so you can try those in all of the 12 different keys and they'll sound great on pretty much any standard that you want to play. But this one is pretty similar to doing the arpeggios around the circle of fourths, but it sounds a little bit prettier and more connected. So basically, I'm just gonna start in C, for example, no sharps or flats. And when I get to the top of my C major arpeggio, I'm just gonna come back down the D minor 7 arpeggio, then up E minor 7. So basically, I'm just outlining the 7th chords of C major, just like we did before with the. But another way you could do that is to play it like this, which is a little bit prettier in my opinion. So for these, it's always fun to challenge yourself to see how fast you can get it while still keeping it clean and not messing up. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's all I have for you now. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to join my email newsletter, I send out emails every once in a while, just letting you know when new videos have come out, when I have upcoming gigs, or sometimes just advice and tips, a little extra like supplementary materials. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely check the link below. And next, I'd really recommend you watch my tone video. This is where I talk about all things with saxophone tone, and I have some really great exercises there. I think you'll really love it. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!